Hey, how's it going? It's Alex. Welcome to my workbench. That's where I do all my crafting. Anyways, I've got here, this is the Blackstar Beam Mini, and it's the first neural amp modeler equipped to run native stuff, little desktop digital practice amp. So I'm gonna play a little bit, talk about my experience with it, the good and quite frankly the not so great. This maybe should serve as kind of a before you buy. Make sure your expectations are accurate to what is actually being released here, because I was kind of disappointed a lot in a few different things. So I'm going to play here. I've got this thing just running, and this is all just raw in the room camera audio, kind of abnormal for me, but let's go ahead and noodle around a little bit and hear what it sounds like. And this is using a NAM capture. So here we go. This could have been cleaner. Anywho, it doesn't sound half bad. Not mad at all about the actual guitar tones I'm getting out of this thing. It's actually pretty cool in that way, especially for it being so tiny. I mean, look at this thing. This is next to a Smith and a, might not be the best thing to show for scale, but here's a pair of glasses. There we go. How about that? You can see how tiny this thing is, sitting on top of my workbench here where I work on my guns and guitars and stuff. And that's pretty cool. And it's USB-C rechargeable, which is pretty dope. You can plug it in for a little while, let it charge up, then throw it in a backpack, and off you go. Now, some of the other upsides, the included Blackstar amps and stuff, all sound pretty great. And it gives you a variety of different pedals and stuff you can put in the front, as well as some post effects like, delay, reverb, those kinds of things. There's also modulation. There's actually a pretty decent suite of onboard effects available through the app. And of course you can save presets. So I've got this one here that I've got built that you heard just now, saved as my second preset. The first one is actually one of the Blackstar patches. So I want to talk a little bit about the major letdown I experienced when first plugging this thing in a couple of days ago. So, of course, I love NAM. Absolutely love all the neural amp modeler stuff. I use a fractal rig for live shows, and I've got a Friedman amp upstairs that hasn't been turned on in probably the better part of 3 years now. It's kind of embarrassing, honestly, but I can't get myself to get rid of it. And the big letdown is that with this piece of equipment, you cannot load individual heads and individual caps. So there's no IR loading at all. Not going to happen, apparently, for a little while. And all of my favorite kind of rigs that I've built have all been piecemeal rigs that I've built through. This is a head that I like. This is a cab that I like. My favorite cabs right now are all the Outmoded Electronics ones. His Mesa 4x12 and the Marshall 1960 TV cab are all just freaking amazing. And I've got some cabs or amps that I really like too, from like Slam and Mofo and a few others. They're all just really great pieces of individual NAM captures, and I can't use them on here. You can only use full rig or combo or head, cab, mic captures. So kind of a huge letdown. Hopefully That is something that gets addressed at some point in the near future. That does not, however, take away from the fact that it does sound really good. I have no idea what it's going to sound like on the camera audio when I when I listen to this here in a few, but I wanted to at least kind of point this out in the event anyone's thinking about getting one of these. Just make sure your expectations are set right, because all of the advertising I've seen for it does not make any mention of full root capture only. So just be aware that is most definitely a thing. Hopefully it'll get patched at some point so you can use regular stuff, but as of right now, nope. Same thing goes for individual or stacking NAM things. There's no way to do that. So if you want to run a pedal capture, I like some of the Arlington Audio stuff, like their SD1 capture is just chef's kiss. But of course you could, if you wanted to run a pedal. I've got a wall full of pedals over here that I could plug into the front of this thing. So if I want to run an SD1 or a Maxon and OD, 09 or something, I've got that stuff. But just be aware, it's a thing. So anyhow, aside from that, it does have some other cool capabilities that aren't live yet. I cannot, for whatever reason, get any music to stream to this thing for like backing track purposes. So that kind of sucks, because I love practicing the backing tracks. The other cool things are this little LED strip here at the top, kind of like an indicator of like your volume or whatever thing you happen to have selected here on the top of it. And again, it does sound good. And at low volumes, higher volumes, it tends to be a little harsh. One other thing I will note is that with every single capture I've loaded so far in here versus on my desktop monitoring situation, they all kind of come across as a little harsh, a little brittle, so you do have to tame the treble quite a bit when using this thing. Might just be due to the speakers that are built in here, but overall still sounds pretty decent. Another thing to keep in mind, something I've run into at least, is that the input seems to be a little bit cold. So versus plugging it into, plugging my guitar into like an audio interface, I'm not getting the kind of, I'm not sure if high input is a thing or not, but plugging in here, I tend to have to boost the input a little bit to get it to sound the way that it would sound if I were plugging into my audio interface on my desktop. So all just different things to kind of consider if you're looking at one of these. And again, they're $200. I mean, that's dirt freaking cheap, or 220 or whatever this thing was. And it does provide a lot for that price point. It's just go in with the right expectations and you won't have the experience that I've had, which has been kind of like, eh. So, anywho, I hope you found this useful. Kind of felt like a therapy session for me. So, anyways, y'all be good to each other. Thanks for hanging out, and talk soon.